Let's have a look at the Home Secretary, should we? Yvette Cooper. She's chairing a summit today aimed at, guess what, smashing the gangs involved in smuggling people over the channel in small boats.
Yeah, that's after Labour abandoned the Rwanda migration plan in favour of, as we've said, smashing the gangs. Well, Starmer may live to regret that decision as it emerges Germany is considering adopting the Rwanda plan to deal with their asylum arrivals.
All gets very confusing. Let's talk to our political correspondent, Olivia Utley, who's at that summit for us. Now, we've got to actually see some action on this pretty quickly, haven't we, if Labour are going to maintain their credibility on this issue?
Well, absolutely. This meeting at the National Crime Agency behind me has been planned for weeks, but obviously it's been injected with a whole lot of new purpose after those grisly deaths in the Channel this week. Keir Starmer's three-word slogan is to smash the gangs, but as this week has taught us, that's much easier said than done. This isn't a sort of one big gang where you can take out the top boss and that's that. These are little nimble gangs which are moving up and down the coastline all the time. When one is cut out, then another one springs up in its place. That is the challenge on Keir Starmer's hands. This meeting today with Yvette Cooper, various other ministers, the Justice Secretary, the Foreign Secretary, various members of the Crown Prosecution Service, National Border Security, etc. There aren't really going to be any new policies announced. It's basically to sort of put the wind into Labour's sails for its plan to smash up the gangs. Yvette Cooper is going to talk about the moral imperative to end the people smuggling trade. But of course, this Rwanda news complicates things. Rishi Sunak's Rwanda policy was never put into place. It was first mooted by Boris Johnson in June 2022. And by the time the election was called in May 2024, there still hadn't been a single flight that had left the ground for Rwanda. So Labour, saying that it was a no-goer, simply ditched the whole scheme on day one. Now that decision is beginning to look a little bit complicated. Why? Because Germany suggested yesterday that it might like to use the facilities that have been paid for by Britain. Britain has paid £318 million to Rwanda, which can't be recouped, to use those facilities to house illegal migrants who have come to Germany. So essentially use exactly the same scheme that Rishi Sunak was going to use and pay for it with British taxpayers' money. Now, there's a few caveats to that. It might not be that straightforward. Quite a lot of that accommodation that's been built in Rwanda has already been given to local people, so it's not clear how much of it there is. But obviously for Keir Starmer, it doesn't look very good. If Germany's prepared to use that deterrent scheme, well, why isn't the UK?
Interesting. Olivia, do you think there's any chance going forward that Labour will reassess going back to a third safe country, maybe not Rwanda? Bearing in mind, this was a Tony Blair idea back in the 90s.
I think it would be politically quite difficult for Keir Starmer, but it might emerge that the Labour Party doesn't really have a choice. In the last year, there have already been 22,000 migrant crossings, and since Labour came to power, there have been 8,000. This is an enormous problem, and it's something which really resonates with the public. Again and again, it comes pretty much top of the polls of what the public cares about. But politically, it would be very difficult for Keir Starmer, having so roundly criticised Rishi Sunak for the Rwanda policy. And, as Rishi Sunak demonstrated, it isn't very easy. When you're in the ECHR, trying to implement a policy like this is just tough.
OK, Olivia, thanks very much
you.
indeed. Well, talking of migrant issues, the Home Office have announced a U-turn on plans to use RAF Scampton as housing for asylum seekers. That's after £60 million was put into fixing up the site by the last government, that is.
Oh, joining us from RAF Scampton now is GBNews East Midlands reporter Will Hollis. Good morning, Will. OK, can you make this one make sense for us?
Yes, well, the story of RAF Scampton goes back deep into the Royal Air Force's history because of the Dam Buster raids which were launched from here. But what most people know, most notably now, is that 2,000 asylum seekers were expected to come and live at RAF Scampton on purpose-built facilities organised by the last Conservative government. And the move has been heavily criticised, and pretty much every step of it has been controversial to both sides of the argument. argument, people on the left saying that RAF bases aren't suitable for migrants, and people on the right saying that we don't want this in our community. Particularly here at RAF Scampton, there was concerns around what might happen to a £300 million regeneration deal. And through every single step of that controversy, Sarah Carter from the Save Our Scampton campaign has been a voice for the community. Sarah, just describe for me, now that this idea has been scrapped because of the new Labour government, what's your reaction?
Elated. It's just amazing. I mean, it's taken 10 weeks for them to properly announce it, and it's been like really hard, but yeah, it's been amazing.
What's this whole 18 months been like from learning that this was the plan to getting here today?
It's been hell, I mean, for everyone involved, because the uncertainty of not knowing what's happening and the fact that we had no consultation, and even when the Home Office did meet with us, it didn't resolve any of our questions. Yeah, it's been hell for everyone.
This went to judicial review down at the High Court in London. There was proposals to dig up Guy Gibson, the leader of 617 Squadron on those Dambuster raids, Black Labrador dog, and move it to Norfolk. There has been a lot of media attention on this, and you've been, like many other people, have been right at the centre of it. What's the damage to the community being so involved in such a big media spotlight?
I think there's a lot of people that have different ideas on how things should sort of be run. So, you know, there are sort of certain groups in the community, but now it's a time to all sort of pull together. We've got the result that we want, and we just have to hope that Scampton Holdings now will get in there and everyone can be happy. And
Scampton Holdings is the organisation that is hoping to invest £300 million into a heritage centre here. Where we are right now is the front of RAF Scampton on the very busy A15 road where HGVs are going up and down between Lincolnshire and Yorkshire. But on the other side, what people will see would be modular housing that will never be used for the up to 2,000 asylum seekers. £60 million spent on this that the Labour government says was never going to be value for money and won't be value for money. What do you think of that money being spent here in the heart of your community?
Well, with regards to the porter cabins, I did notice on Google Maps that the image had changed from the red arrows to the porter cabins, and that broke my heart. But yeah, the 60 million, I mean, it's a drop in the ocean compared to the potential that, you know, the investment could bring to this area. And they've wasted tenfold that on Rwanda and everywhere else. So it's just a shame that the government think it's okay to waste money like that.
Fantastic. Sarah Carter, probably not for the last time, but for something now, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning on GB News. The Labour government said that between now and 2027, £121 million would be spent on RAF Scampton, and that would not deliver value for the taxpayer.
Will, thank you.
Will, thank you very much. Honestly, Stephen, I can't get my head around this one.
Why?
We already spent 60 million.
Yeah, but, well, the last government, though.
Yeah, the last government. I mean, does it have to be a knee-jerk reaction that the new government, whatever colour they are, coming in and just undoing everything the previous government did because, oh, it was all their fault, it was a bit rubbish, we're going to be better, and then are they any better at the moment?
Yeah, but you wouldn't want Scampton turned into that, would you?
Well,
it's a historic site.
Of course it's a very historic site, but I also wonder what we are going to do with migrants. Where are we housing migrants? We can't afford to carry on putting them up in hotels, can we? Well,
no, but that's meant to be stopping, isn't it, when they smash the gangs?
Oh, yeah.
But also the processing. Look, it's all down at the Home Office, all the processing and all the rest of it, and getting it all sorted. Well, that's on Yvette Cooper's shoulders now, and she's going to have to act quickly on it. It'd be great if she'd come on the programme to talk about it.
Well, absolutely. As one of our lovely viewers has just suggested, you know, we need someone from Labour to come on here and explain how they feel about Germany and the Rwanda plan. You know, it's what are their thoughts on that? Are they ever going to go? Because it was Tony Blair when he came in that he first suggested a third country.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Third safe country.
It didn't
happen, but he suggested it, and he was Labour.
Yeah, well, yeah. However, you know, Labour's been very clear they won't do it. What is interesting with this is that Chancellor Schulz in Germany is very closely allied with Keir Starmer.
Yes.
And so that's the interesting bit for me. But what you have to remember is Schulz is facing an election.
He is facing
and
an election.
He's very unlikely to retain his position.
Yeah, well, the rise of the far-right parties over there.
So he's clearly trying to, you know, appease that with this idea. But it's the relationship between Schulz and Starmer, which is the interesting one here.
Yes, no, absolutely. As well as a relationship now with France under Barnier.
But would Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, here's a plea, come on the programme?
Please.
She's been on once.
Yes.
I've interviewed her once, but she doesn't like coming on GB News.
Because we ask the questions that everybody out there wants asking.
I mean, she has appeared on, of course, Good Morning Britain with her husband asking her probing questions. Which,
that was
frankly,
nice.
I mean, can you imagine if that had happened on this channel? There would have been would have been an Ofcom issue.
Yeah. No, it really would. I mean, how they got away with that one, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But
it was a particularly probing question, though. What do you want for tea, love?
Yeah.
Deep political meaning behind that one.
I think perhaps people like Yvette Cooper, who I've spoken to many, many times over the years, should look at the viewing figures and realise that the channel she is going on, very significantly fewer people are watching. And so actually you should be on this one and speak to the British people who you are actually representing, whether they voted for you or not.
Yeah.
So that's an open invitation.
Very open. Yeah, actually, interesting point. But Jean's just made an interesting point. Good morning, Jean. She says maybe Scampton could be used for low-category prisoners, seeing as we don't have any room in prisons at the moment, and we've spent 60 million on it already. It's an interesting point.